Let me introduce the moderator. Deborah Kaufman is a longtime industry journalist and is founder of Mobilize TV. And let's welcome Deborah Kaufman.
Thanks, Seth, and thank all of you to coming for this, what I think is going to be a really, really interesting look at social networking. We have a group of panelists who are so experienced in social networking that you are bound to learn a lot of different things. To my left here is John Myers, the executive producer and owner of Ring of Fire. It's a digital visual effects and animation company that's been around for 14 years that produces work for TV, films, and TV commercials. Next to him is Bill Sewell, president and partner of Wiredrive, an online review, approval, and sales tool for the post industry. And next to him is Mark Kaplan, VP of Sales and Marketing at Technicolor Sound Services, and an entertainment industry veteran for over 25 years on both sides of the table, both producer and client. And last but not least, Ben Benedetti, VP of Sales for Modern Video Film, and perhaps more interestingly, the administrator of a supergroup, which means he's got 23,000 members, a supergroup on LinkedIn called Film and TV Professionals. So if you don't already belong to Film and TV Professionals on LinkedIn, I suggest you go there and join. So my first question for the panelists is to try and kind of put this in a little bit of historic perspective. I'd like to know when you first became aware of the potential power of social networking on the computer. You know, has the computer, since the advent of the computer, has that always been a good social networking or, revenue building tool for you? Or when did the light bulb go on? Mark?
Yeah, well, I'm very asocial, it was about 3 years ago, a buddy of mine says, you got to take a look at this thing called LinkedIn. And I said, what's that? He says, well, you're a connector. A connector, if you use Malcolm Gladwell's theory, is someone who, there aren't 6 degrees of separation in the world, there are really 2. And you could test me later if you want. And he said, LinkedIn, you'll be surprised about how many people you're connected to who are there and connect you onwards. And I thought, wow, this is great. I put up my professional profile and everything, and then around 6 months later, we're at a wedding together. And I said, I really love this LinkedIn. It's great. I'm at a 500 plus, and I got 39 people raving about me, and and it's really great. He says, oh, that's nothing. I said, what do you mean? He says, Facebook. I said, what's Facebook? And he said, trust me, Facebook.com, just go there, your life will never be the same. And it hasn't, but that's kind of like my evolution of, one has led to another, and I think right now where Facebook and LinkedIn are is kind of, I think, the epicenter for business right at the moment.
Well, you did bring up a really interesting question, though. I mean, you started listing all the places you can belong to, and I think everybody will admit that it's a dizzying array of possibilities. How do you decide which are the, do you join everything?
The point is that with Plaxo, Twitter, Facebook, you can interlink them. You can interlink LinkedIn with Facebook as well. So you got to find which platform is best for you, and which platform represents you and what image you want to put forward.
Well, that's interesting. So I'd love to hear from some other people, and if they use these platforms in different ways, or if they use different platforms. Bill?
So I think about 2 years ago, the light bulb went off for me in terms of getting onto Facebook. I was personally interested in finding how many people I could recognize before traveling to a large conference, and being able to do some field research, if you will. And there were starting to become these groups like who's going to Cannes this year, who's going to New York, for different advertising conferences. I liked the images and the sort of the touchy-feely, warm, fuzzy side of Facebook, because that seems to be the way to connect, on a more human level with a lot of people in the advertising industry. And so that's where I got started. Then Twitter comes along, and as you're saying, they all connect up together. What Twitter represented, in my opinion, was kind of the equivalent. If you have, we're all texting on our cell phones these days. In a weird way, Twitter is sort of texting grown. Instead of one-to-one, you're able to text one-to-many or read what other people are texting. And with tool sets like TweetDeck, which is a free program you can download and start running search strings, you essentially have this massive window where you can search on a bunch of different topics, like who's talking about your company, who's talking about the trends in the industry that you're interested in, your competitors, people that you know personally, and you can literally slide your bar over and see the conversation flows. TweetDeck.
Ben, you haven't. Let's hear from you. What are how are you using the social networking platforms? Which ones are you using?
I've dabbled in all of them. I've always been really interested in the internet ever since its inception. I remember back, this was all still phone dial-up stuff. In New York, there was a company called The Pipeline that really helped define HTML protocols and being able to actually see imagery and this new way of disseminating information over this thing called the internet always fascinated me. It went from just being a curiosity to becoming an invaluable part of my workflow. Was actually with Plaxo, actually having the ability to not only have your address book available there, but then for the services that it provides to allow you to connect and to assist you in connecting with other people, really became invaluable to me. And it really, starting to use that on a regular basis in order to get in touch with people and stay in touch with people, that really kind of opened it up for me and really started me from going from just this curiosity thing to actually a daily part of working with it.
John, do you have any comments also about platforms, or are you using the same ones that everybody's been discussing?
Yeah, pretty much using the same ones. I mean, it's interesting listening to the conversation go down the table. The one word that didn't come up was MySpace. My two biggest, consultants in this area are a nephew who's a freshman in college and my 10-year-old niece who lives in Manhattan, who sings at the Met. So, I'm constantly watching these guys and what they're up to, and I was sending them the MySpace pages, and they were, it was kind of cool for a while, and then I said, well, you're not on MySpace anymore. Oh no, MySpace is done, it's over. What? And I just learned this, and I'm trying to figure this stuff out, and they're like, oh yeah, Facebook. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So they literally stopped, like overnight, stopped using MySpace and just quit using it, and then the whole Facebook revolution. So I'm just trying to keep up. So finally
They're our best teachers,
exactly.
Right?
And I woke up and dumped MySpace for Facebook.